For almost 3 decades, Beyoncé has been the definition of untouchable in music. Her voice, her stage presence, her visuals, everything she delivers feels polished, controlled, and larger than life. She built her career on a mysterious aura, rarely giving interviews, rarely letting people see past the spotlight, and somehow that silence only added to her power. Whenever she dropped an album, the entire world stopped. Whenever she stepped onto a stage, the lights seemed to dim everywhere else. From the outside, it all looked flawless. No scandals, no chaos, no messy headlines. Just sleek rollouts, jaw-dropping visuals, sold-out arenas, and a catalog of hits that made her nearly bulletproof. To most fans, Beyoncé wasn't just a performer, she was the standard. But dig a little deeper and another story begins to appear, one that doesn't fit neatly into the Queen Bee narrative. Because while Beyoncé's legacy in music is unquestionable, her record outside of the studio, in business, fashion, film, and brand building, is much more complicated. In fact, when you start looking at her ventures beyond music, you'll see a trail of projects that started with massive hype, but ended with silence, disappointment, or worse, being quietly swept under the rug. And that silence, the very thing that protects her image, may actually be the reason her empire outside of music never feels solid. Let's rewind to 2004. Beyoncé was fresh off the success of Dangerously in Love and had officially cemented herself as a solo superstar. It was the perfect time to expand. With her mother Tina Knowles by her side, who had been designing costumes for Destiny's Child for years, Beyoncé launched House of Darion, a bold, soul-inspired fashion line named after her grandmother. On paper, it had everything: Tina's experience as a designer, Beyoncé's global name, and a nostalgic tie to family legacy. The brand debuted with major campaigns, had Bloomingdale's partnerships, glossy ads, and even Beyoncé herself modeling the clothes in sun-soaked tropical shoots. But almost immediately, the reviews turned harsh. Critics said the designs felt tacky, out of date, and out of sync with Beyoncé's polished image. Fans weren't buying it either. The line failed to resonate, sales plummeted, and within a few years, House of Darion was gone. No public statement, no dramatic exit, no apology tour. It just quietly disappeared. For most celebrities, one failed brand wouldn't be the end of the world. But this was Beyoncé. The expectation was greatness in everything she touched. The quiet collapse of House of Darion was the first warning sign that maybe her mystery-driven approach, which worked so perfectly in music, didn't translate in business. Fast forward a decade, and Beyoncé was ready to try again. This time, she aimed at the booming activewear market. Enter Ivy Park, a stylish athleisure line meant to blend fitness and fashion. At first, it seemed like a hit. She partnered with Topshop, the rollout had slick campaigns, and her fan base was buzzing. But behind the scenes, things went sour. Accusations of harassment and discrimination surfaced against Topshop's owner, and suddenly, Beyoncé was in a storm she hadn't created. To save face, she bought out her partner's entire stake, taking full control of Ivy Park. To the outside world, it looked like a boss move. In reality, the damage was done. Then came the Adidas deal. This was supposed to be the big turnaround, Beyoncé's brand on one of the biggest global platforms in fashion. The first drop was massive. Fans crashed websites, items sold out instantly, and Ivy Park seemed unstoppable. But the momentum didn't last. By 2023, the numbers told a different story. Adidas had expected around $250 million in revenue from Ivy Park. The actual number? Barely $40 million. The partnership ended quietly, another fade into the background. So what went wrong? Why did a brand with Beyoncé's name and Adidas machine behind it still flop? The answer is connection. Beyoncé's brand thrives on mystery. She vanishes for months, then reappears with a surprise album, and the internet explodes. That works in music, where the art is the focus. But in fashion, mystery doesn't sell. Fans don't just want to see a celebrity's name on a label. They want to feel like they're part of the story. They want to watch the star wear the clothes, live in them, post about them, make them feel like more than fabric. Rihanna understands this. Kim Kardashian understands this. They show up. They film themselves applying makeup, trying on shapewear, joking around, being imperfect. That's how they build trust. Beyoncé, on the other hand, launched Ivy Park, modeled in the campaign, and then disappeared. The result? Fans felt excluded, not included. The brand looked good in pictures, but didn't feel alive. It looked like Beyoncé, but it didn't feel like Beyoncé. And that disconnect drained all the energy out of it. Beyoncé's fragrance line followed a similar path. Her first perfume, Heat, launched strong in 2010. It pulled in more than $400 million worldwide and was, for a while, the top-selling celebrity fragrance on the planet. But then came the spin-offs: Pulse, Midnight Heat, Heat Rush. Each one tried to recapture the magic of the original. Instead, the line lost steam. By 2013, bottles of Heat and its siblings were showing up in discount bins, the retail equivalent of a death certificate. Her licensing company moved on, and fans barely noticed. It wasn't a lack of money or distribution that killed it. It was the same problem: no ongoing connection. No videos of Beyoncé spraying it before shows, no casual mentions, no behind-the-scenes moments to make the scent feel like a part of her life. It was just a glossy campaign that faded with time. Beyoncé's business empire also extended into entertainment through her company, Parkwood Entertainment. In theory, Parkwood was supposed to be more than a personal management house. It was supposed to nurture new talent and expand Beyoncé's influence as a mogul. But once again, the results were mixed. Movies like Cadillac Records and Obsessed didn't deliver the kind of cultural impact fans expected. And when it came to music, things got even shakier. Artists signed to Parkwood, like Chloe Bailey, were expected to shine under Beyoncé's wing. But when Chloe's debut album dropped and underperformed, fans noticed something odd. Beyoncé didn't promote it. Not a single post, not a story, not even a simple reshare. That silence said everything. Industry insiders began whispering that Parkwood wasn't really building artists, it was creating Beyoncé echoes. The visuals, the sound, the aesthetic all felt like lighter versions of Beyoncé's own brand. Without her level of fame or platform, those artists struggled to stand out. Instead of being launched into stardom, they were trapped in the shadow of perfection. And worse, when they stumbled, Beyoncé stayed silent. No encouragement, no damage control, no mentorship visible to the public. For a company meant to create stars, Parkwood felt more like a holding pen. At the core of all these failures lies the same issue: Beyoncé's relationship with her audience. Her music career is built on being untouchable, mysterious, and regal. She doesn't do messy interviews. She doesn't overshare. She doesn't explain. She moves in silence, drops masterpieces, and lets the world react. That approach works for art, but for business, it's poison. Today's marketplace thrives on relatability. Fans don't just want to buy products, they want to feel connected to the person behind them. They want bloopers, behind-the-scenes clips, casual Instagram stories, the little imperfect details that make stars feel human. That's why Rihanna's Fenty empire works. She films herself applying foundation, jokes on camera, and shows up barefaced. That's why Kim Kardashian's SKM sells out. She models her own shapewear in everyday outfits, proving it's not just for a campaign, but part of her real life. With Beyoncé, that's missing. She may model Ivy Park in one photo shoot, but you never see her casually wearing it while running errands. She may release a perfume, but you don't see her actually using it. Fans admire her, but they don't relate to her, and admiration doesn't always translate into sales. Whether it's fashion, fragrance, or film, the pattern is clear. Beyoncé's ventures launch with massive hype, glittering campaigns, and high expectations. But without presence, without connection, the hype fades, the sales drop, and the project disappears. House of Darion? God! Ivy Park? Ended. Perfume line? Discount bins. Parkwood Entertainment? Struggling. The queen of music remains untouchable in her lane, but outside of it, the cracks are visible. At some point, the question becomes, is Beyoncé spreading herself too thin? Not every legend needs to dominate every lane. Her gift is music, performance, vision, and artistry. She built a career on mystery, silence, and perfection, and it worked brilliantly in her field. But in business, perfection isn't enough. Business requires presence, relatability, and constant engagement. It requires showing up. And Beyoncé's refusal to show up outside of carefully curated moments may be her biggest weakness as a brand builder. Her name will always be powerful. Her music will always be timeless. But if she wants her business empire to stand as tall as her artistic legacy, she'll have to learn to give fans more than perfection. She'll have to give them pieces of herself. Because today, people don't want flawless, they want real. And until Beyoncé figures out how to bridge that gap, every venture outside of music risks ending the same way, with silence.